Namaste, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest evolvement. If you're listening to this podcast, I don't even need to tell you how good turmeric is for you, but I am going to tell you how you can take your turmeric game up a notch. So I've been drinking Vata Tea's new turmeric line, and they have these 4 teas that I've been rotating on a daily basis, which I want to share with you. We're about to get a little Ayurvedic nerdy right now. So in the morning, I'll have the turmeric spice tea, which is really good for the digestive system, getting things stimulated, waking up the Agni. After lunch, I'll have the turmeric ginger tea, which is really good for digestion and enhances Pitta, which is highest in the middle of the day. At night, I'll have the turmeric ashwagandha tea, which relieves stress, just gets my body ready to sleep. And then right before I sleep, I'll have the turmeric moringa tea, which acts as a natural laxative because, you gotta detoxify. So I love these 4 teas together, and they actually come in the new turmeric line that Vata is offering. So head over to vatamteas.com, VAHDAMTeas.com, and use coupon code Sahara for 20% off. Again, that's vatamteas.com with coupon code Sahara for 20% off. If it's your first time listening, welcome. I am so grateful to have you here. We're going to explore the depths of your soul and have a lot of fun doing it. So thank you for being here. And if you listen all the time, what it do, girl or boy or soul being, whoever you are, I am grateful for you. I feel like we're already friends. And let's dive into an archetypal system that I am super passionate about, but don't get to talk to you as much on a professional basis because, my work is in Ayurveda. But I have always been obsessed with archetypes. Since I was a kid, I loved quizzes. I loved to understand people and patterns and create categories. And it just helps me make sense of the world. So that's what got me into, Ayurveda and learning about the Michael teachings and soul archetypes and many different types. And a system that has made a lot of sense for me and really changed my entire life has been human design. So I first learned about human design about 5 years ago when I was living in Bali, and everyone was talking, are you a generator, manifestor, projector? I was like, what are they talking about? And I learned about human design, and it made a lot of sense to me. When I found out my human design type, I had already intuitively felt a lot of the things that were said, but it really just allowed me to be who I am, and also created a lot of challenges because I was not totally living in alignment with my human design type. A lot of the things that were recommended for my human design type were things that didn't make sense to me, or I thought I would fall behind, or life won't work that way. So it was a very interesting process, and something that over time I've developed my life more and more around, and still it's a work in progress, but it allows me to see that not all of us are meant to operate in the same way. So what human design really does is it helps us understand how to operate our energy. So that's how I would describe it more than anything. It is based off of your birth date and time. So it's like an astrological system, but it's not just astrology. It's not Western astrology. It's not Vedic astrology. It's a combination of many different types of system. Most importantly, the I Ching, which is an ancient Chinese system. But it was essentially created in the 80s to help people understand how to best create environments for their children. Because as we know, kids grow up totally differently, and it's important for us to understand what each child needs so we can create the correct learning environment and home environment for them. So a man called Ra Uru, who was Human Design's founder and messenger, he came from Montreal, and he was really the first person to create this system, which is based on many other systems. And now I feel like, especially in the past couple years, it's become more and more popular because people are really seeing the truths in these human design types. And if you are my friend and know me in real life, you'll know one of the first things I ask you is your human design. And if you don't know, I will look up your birthday and find out, because it has really helped me understand people on such a deep level. So with human design, what I've noticed is that it really parallels the Ayurvedic doshas. So if it's your first time listening, Ayurveda is the world's oldest health system, and it's the sister science of yoga based on the mind-body connection. And the premise of Ayurveda is that we are all bio-individuals. So the same food that may be good for me may not be good for you. Same exercise, meditative practice, whatever it is, it's all about customization. And the main energy types or archetypes in Ayurveda are called the doshas. So there are 3 doshas: Vata, Pitta, Kapha. Vata is air, so air energy, creative, eccentric, think outside the box, visionary, bubbly, fast-moving, think qualities of the air. Pitta is fire, so think ambitious, go-getter, feisty, disciplined, hardworking. These are qualities of fire, Pitta. And then Kapha is earth. So earth is grounded, it is calm, it is peaceful, it is centered, it is anchored. So these are the qualities of Kapha. And we're all a combination of all 3, but in varying amounts. So someone who's very Vata will be moving really fast, talking really fast, coming up with a lot of ideas, super artistic, doing things in their own way. Someone who's very Pitta is regiment. They like to get shit done. They like to check off things on their to-do list. They are very ambitious people, and they like to use their time wisely. And then Kapha people are more just chill, retrospective, taking their time with things, nurturing, mama bear, like very warm and kind to everyone, but can sometimes suppress their emotions. So even as I'm saying this, there's probably a person that comes to your mind to show you each of these doshas. But as there are 3 doshas, there are 4 human design archetypes. So I've noticed that there are commonalities, and I'll go through each human design archetype because if you're a listener of this podcast, I have 2 books on Ayurveda: The Idiot's Guide to Ayurveda, which is a really good one if you just want to learn everything start to finish about Ayurveda, nutrition, self-care, doshas, chakras, koshas, all of it. And then Eat, Feel Fresh, which is if you are interested in the nutrition and the food and all of that. And I also have an oracle card deck, which uses a lot of Ayurveda, yoga, etc., called A Yogic Path. So head over to the show notes, my website, iamsahararose.com. I also have a dosha quiz that you can take. And in this dosha quiz, you'll find out exactly how Vata, Pitta, and Kapha you are in your mind and in your body. And I will email you a free 3-day mini course all about Ayurveda and with videos, everything. So I have a lot of Ayurveda content and resources. Again, my website is iamsahararose.com, and my Instagram is the same thing. I come up with dosha memes all the time. But human design is this like newer thing that less people are familiar with. You know, Ayurveda is extremely ancient and age-old, again, 5,000 plus year old system, whereas human design really was just created in the 80s. It's much newer, though it's based off of ancient wisdom. And I find that there are many commonalities between the 2, and I find a lot of medicine in both of them. So let's dive into the human design archetypes. Now, you can look up your human design online. So it's not something like a dosha quiz where you should take a quiz because your doshas change with time, seasons, etc. But it's something that you're born with and something that does not change. So you're just one human design type. There's a kind called manifesting generator, which is like kind of between 2, but it's still in the generator category. So you can't just like choose what human design you want to be. It's actually something that you're born as. And why are you born as that? Well, it's the same reason why you're born at a certain time of day and date. It's your soul choosing it. So if you believe in astrology, you believe that our souls choose the time that they want to be born at because they want to come through with a certain set of gifts and skills and unique characteristics. And this is the same thing as human design. So it's like an astrological system. Now, the 4 archetypes are generator, projector, manifestor, and reflector. So I'm going to start with generator because it is about 70% of the population. So if you're listening, 7 out of 10 of you are probably generators. So generators are filled with energy. They are the people who essentially are the busy bees of society. They're always doing things, they're making things, they're moving forward, they're progressing. For them to sleep at the end of the day, they need to feel like they really used up their energy. So with a generator, they're split kind of half and half between manifesting generator and just plain generator. Manifesting generator has a little bit more of an ability to come up with the things that they want to act on. Like, okay, I have an idea about something and I'm going to go do it. So they're always like coming up with an idea, doing it, coming up with an idea, doing it, coming up with an idea, doing it. Whereas pure generator need a little bit of guidance and a little bit of, someone bouncing back ideas with them. So a generator in general's approach is to respond. So instead of saying, what do you want to eat? And you ask a generator, they're going to be like, I don't know. Like, what do you want to eat? Like, there's so many options out there. But if you ask a generator, do you want Italian or Thai food? They're able to respond to that. Okay, I want Italian food. So generators really need choices. Out of those choices, they can choose. But if you just put them into open water and tell them, okay, go whichever direction you want to go, they don't know. So they really need mentors, coaches, guidance. And if they have that guidance, they can go so far because they have so much energy. When they feel their best, they feel satisfied. Satisfaction is their signature. Like, I just feel good. I feel satisfied. And when they don't feel like themselves, their not self theme is frustration. So, I just feel frustrated. I'm working so hard. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing, and I still don't really know what I'm doing. And I'm really getting frustrated because I'm not moving forward. That's really how a generator feels. So for them, they're really here to build. They're here to work. They're here to create. They have that energy level to do it. So they really operate well in groups. They need to do something they love. If they have a job that they love to do, they'll give their all to it. If they don't love what they're doing, then they don't have the energy for it. And it's important for generators to also wait to respond. So, it's not all about initiating this and initiating that and putting yourself out there. Sometimes you have to wait to respond. So what that could look like is, instead of, let's say, I don't know, you are a publicist, instead of like interjecting yourself and emailing people like, hey, I was wondering if you need a publicist to represent you, Instead, wait for maybe in a conversation with that person, they bring up, oh, I'm really looking for a publicist. And then you respond to that situation. So it's all about kind of waiting for that right time to put your energy forward. Otherwise, you just might exert your energy all the time and end up feeling burnt out, which often happens with generators. So generators are very similar to the Pitta dosha. If we look at Pitta, it's fiery, it's always moving, it loves to work, it loves to build, it loves to execute. And that's really the energy of a generator. So if you think about that fire, you think about it's always moving, it's transforming, it's taking that step forward. It's like, okay, what's happening today? What's on the schedule? Let's go. That's the energy of the generator, and that's the energy of Pitta. Now, the second human design archetype is projector. Now, projector is my human design type, and one that I really resonate with, though sometimes I really don't. And I'll share with you why. So projectors are about 20% of the population. And while generators have all of this energy to do things, projectors actually don't. Projectors are not here to build and work. They're actually here to guide. They are able to see a very clear view of what needs to happen. They're able to really channel and give advice to other people and see things from that highest vision. But if they try to do it all themselves, they will literally deplete themselves. They don't have the energy to do it. But most of us, especially, projectors, have been operating like generators because we live in a generator society. Our society, if 70% of us are generators, we live in this society that's like work 9 to 5, keep going, hustle, slay. And projectors really are not meant to do this. So 20% of the people in the population are really not meant to do this because they won't be able to guide and see from that highest vision, that highest channel, if they're doing all of this work. So it's very important for a projector because they really have these undefined centers to wait for the invitation. Now, what that invitation means, it's different than responding. So while a generator might need some choices to respond to, do you want Italian or Thai food? A projector needs to feel like they're invited into a situation. So projectors are here to guide, and they really love recognition. They really love to be recognized, like, wow, you're really talented, you're really smart, you're really good at what you do. And then once they have that recognition, then they're invited into the situation. But again, they can't press themselves or promote themselves or, try to get themselves out there. So for example, I've totally noticed this in my own career as well. The times that I've tried to pitch someone something, like pitching someone to be on their podcast, magazine, whatever it is, it's honestly never worked. It's like I've had, obviously situations that have gone through, but it's never really been very fruitful. And most of the time I just don't even get a response, or I would get a no. And I would get really frustrated because I was writing the emails, doing the cold emailing, all of the things, and it wasn't working. And then when I realized that it's because I'm a projector, I have to wait for the invitation, it all made sense. So instead, I just put my focus on creating the best content that I possibly can, being my highest self and letting my wisdom be known. And then from there, I have invitations of people who listen to the podcast, who read my books, who discover my work, and then they invite me to be on their podcast or featured in their magazine, whatever it is, without me having to press it. So projectors really can't operate the same way that most people can. They have to wait for that invitation. So show up, share your gifts, and then let people come in. Now, invitation does not mean you have to be invited for everything in your life. So again, let's say you want to start a podcast. No one has to invite you to start a podcast. That's just yourself feeling inspired to. So if you're feeling inspired to do something, inspiration is an invitation. And I think that this is really important for projectors to know. If you're feeling really inspired to do it, do it. But if you're doing it because you feel like it's going to move you forward or it's what you're supposed to do, it won't work. And the invitation is really about other people. So if there are other people involved in the situation, there needs to be an invitation. But if it's just you and yourself, you can just start your own podcast. No one needs to invite you to do that. You can just get a hold and get started with that right away. So while generators have very open auras, their auras are really like open and receiving, projectors have very focused energy. So you can often feel like if you're energetically sensitive when you're with a projector, because they have this like absorbing energy to them that almost like sucks you in. Like it makes you really interested and intrigued. Like, oh, I want to learn more about this person. This person has a lot of wisdom. Like, let me find out more about that. Whereas a generator has a more enveloping energy. So their energy, they have so much energy, so it feels really bubbly and you're like, woo, you're getting hyped up being around them. Whereas the projector is more like, ooh, it's absorbing. It's like, I want to learn more about what you have to say. So when a projector feels their signature, their best, they feel success. Like I'm getting success, I'm getting recognized, I'm moving forward. And that is really them feeling like their highest selves. And when they don't feel like themselves, they feel bitter. So like, oh, like people aren't recognizing me for what I know. Like I'm not getting invited to really show up in my highest gifts. Like I really want to be able to share the wisdom that I have. Projectors really like to become the master of their craft. So generators really like to just be busy doing a lot of things, involved in the household, involved in everything. Whereas projectors really take like one thing, especially systems. They really like systems, which is why I love any archetype and become the master of that craft. So you might become the master in human design or Reiki or astrology, or in my case, Ayurveda, etc., and really go so deep into it, really become that student. And then from that place of really knowing it, then you share, because projectors really care about being authentic and wise and giving that right advice, which is why they're a little bit less out there, extroverted. They're a little bit more of an introverted energy. So for them, again, it's important for them to feel like they're invited into the situation and for them to lie down. Lying down is a really important thing for a projector because they're not energy beings. So just that feeling of being horizontal is really replenishing for them. And also it's important for projectors to sleep alone often or sometimes, because at nighttime, especially generators, they worked so much. So at the end of the day, they're giving off all of their energy, and projectors are very taking in and absorbing of the energy. So if a generator is sleeping next to a projector every single night, they could end up feeling really wound up and exhausted. So if you're a projector who is in a relationship with a generator, I recommend sometimes sleeping on your own. If you're a projector with a projector, my husband is also a projector, also splenic authority. I don't know how I found him, but I don't have a problem sleeping next to him. But still, sometimes I do think it's good for everyone to sleep on their own to replenish their energy. And there's actually something that you can find in your human design chart. It's like you'd have to talk to a human design expert on really how to see it. But sometimes two projectors, when they're together, can become a generator. So it's something that you could look further into. So projector is the energy of Vata. It's coming up with ideas. It's seeing things from that higher vision. It's looking from that bird's eye perspective. It's being the guide, like being the person that people come to for counseling. This is a very Vata energy. So I see a lot of Vatas who are projectors. Okay, real talk, the product I'm about to tell you about is literally the best thing I've ever put into my mouth, and that is saying a lot. And this is Organifi's Gold. So essentially, it is the hot chocolate of your dreams with none of the sugar and all of the turmeric and reishi, with a touch of ginger as well. It is delicious on its own, just with water. When I was on my Projectors and I couldn't have any sugar or chocolate, anything like that, I brought my Organifi Gold with me. Panchakarma approved, and all I needed was hot water, and it was the perfect, just sweet, soothing, desserty taste that I so deeply crave after meals. And it makes me feel so calm, so restorative. It is my optimal nighttime tonic. And literally, I've gotten all my friends on it, and I'm pinching myself that they are my podcast sponsors, because even if they weren't, I would still be telling everyone about it. So head over to Organifi.com and use coupon code Sahara for 20% off. That is Organifi, ORGANIFI.com. Use coupon code Sahara for 20% off your gold. Now, the third human design archetype are manifestors. So this is about, people say, about 9% of the population. And these are people who are essentially, in history, they were like the kings, like the authoritarians, the leaders, and they are here to lead. They are here to come up with an idea and take action. So they have this ability to come up with the ideas like the projector, as well as the energy of the generator to act upon them. So I'm sure everyone's like, I want to be a manifestor. That's how I definitely felt when I heard about human design. But, you know, everything has its pros and its cons too. So what a manifestor is very good at is, again, being that leader, being very clear to their vision. They're very good at initiating. They're very good at starting things. So let's say they're like, okay, I want to start this organization. They'll figure out how to do it. They'll set up the whole team. They'll put everyone into the right place and really get it off the ground. But it's important for manifestors to initiate, but not sustain. The energy of sustaining is the energy of the generator. So the generator can then come into the organization and be like, okay, here, I'll be the human resources person, I'll be the coach, whatever it is. But that manifestor needs to initiate and then step away. So it's like, imagine you're on stage and you perform, and then you step backstage and you just like recuperate. And that's really how manifestors need to go, except most manifestors, because they have so much energy, they keep going. They're like, wow, I can literally create anything. And this can become very dangerous because they might manifest things that they don't really want. So what manifestors need to do, their strategy is to inform themselves before acting. So really understand everything there is about this thing before you jump into it. Like, what is it going to lead to? What is my plan after it? Is this something I really want to do? Like, I have this friend, they're a couple and they're both manifestors. They're like, we better not think about a baby because we literally will like have a baby instantly. And it's so true because they're very, very powerful. So that's why they have to like fully know what they're getting into. Otherwise, they might find themselves running a business that's not really true to them. So it's great that, you know, I'm sure you're like, that's not a bad problem to have. You can just manifest whatever you want. But as I said, every energy has its pros and its cons. And for a manifestor, the con is they can be very repelling. Like, people could just be repelled, like not want anything to do with them, feel like they're really harsh and aggressive and too strong in an energy. So my shamanic teacher, Malaika, who has been on this podcast, is a manifestor. And she always says, you know, I'm like durian. Some people are either salivating at me and some people are repulsed by me. And this is really the energy of the manifestor. It's like, hate it or love it. And durian, if you guys know this fruit, people go crazy for it, but some people hate it. Like, personally, I actually hate the fruit durian. It's like an oniony banana. It actually smells so bad that they've banned it from the Singapore airport. But some people love it. Some people move to tropical environments so they could live off durian. So it's that kind of energy. It's like, you're really strong. You know what you want. You're a boss. And some people are just like, that's not jiving with me. Sometimes it can be forceful. Like, I know some manifestors who were very authoritarian and putting their rule over other people, though they were not personally meaning to do it. And I also know manifestors like my friend Cassandra, who's been on this podcast, who are like the sweetest souls that like you would never even guess they're a manifestor because they're so sweet. So it doesn't mean that everyone is totally operating like their human design type. Some people might know like, okay, I can really come off as strong, so I'm going to soften myself. And some people don't have that awareness. So it doesn't mean that you're going to have both sides. It just means those are just like the doshas, they can come out of balance. It's just awareness of how you can come out of balance. So when a manifestor is feeling at their signature, they feel peace. Like, I just feel like I'm in peace with everything. And when not, they feel angry. So real anger, irritation, frustration. And what does that sound like? Pitta. So manifestor is also the energy of Pitta. It is feisty. It's like, I know what I want, and if you're going to slow me down, or you're not going to respect my time, or you're going to be putting yourself in victim mentality, I am not here for it. And that fire can really stimulate until it turns into a volcano. And that's when that manifestor, that Pitta energy erupts. So manifestors really have to be careful with anger. Now, manifestors hate being controlled. They hate being told what to do. They do not do well with having a boss. So honestly, a manifestor should be an entrepreneur or a CEO or something or just an entrepreneur that no one's telling them what to do, because they have a very hard time with it. And even if they are working in a company, they just need a lot of freedom. So really, like, projectors are here to guide, whereas manifestors are more here to lead. So manifestors are more here to like see, okay, these are the systems that need to come into play, and this is how we can build the organization. This is how we scale, and this is how we can move forward. It's like a very businessy energy, again, the Pitta, whereas the projector is more of that Vata energy of like, okay, what is our mission here? What is our soul's purpose? It's more of that spiritual Vata energy. And then that generator, it's here to like build. It's very grounded. So I even say it would be like a Pitta Kapha energy, because it's working and it's achieving, but it also has that groundedness of like, you know, the farmer who comes to work every day and like, this is just what I do, and I'm happy with it and I'm satisfied with it. Like, yes, it's that farmer energy. I'm really getting downloads like, it's Pitta Kapha. Okay. And I love this because as I'm channeling with you guys, I receive more wisdom. And this is essentially what my podcast is. It's like me fully stepping up into my projector self and being like, yeah, I'm receiving the information as I speak. And this is really how projectors operate. Whereas a manifestor might have a very clear point to their podcast before they start talking, like, okay, these are the points I'm going to say in today's episode, and let's go into it. And they really stick to it. And a generator might have a script, or they may have, you know, kind of consulted with someone before, or just like, they'll need a little bit of an idea. Like, I put on the mic and I don't know what I'm going to say. And this would not work for a generator because they need to respond. So a generator might like to be in a conversation with someone instead of doing a solo cast, because in that conversation, they could respond to what that person is saying and be like, oh yeah, I see this too. And then their wisdom can come out that way versus just solo casting and nothing to respond to. Maybe a generator does a Q&A and that is really good for them. Whereas the projector is just like, kind of like in a channel-y state, but needs to not overexert. And then the manifestor is like, this is what's going to happen, and I'm going to go do it. So the last human design type is a reflector. And this is 1% of the population. 1%, guys. So very, very, very rare. And my brother is one. So it's very interesting because my family are all non-energy types. So non-energy types are projectors and reflectors. They need essentially other people's energies around them to have energy. So me, my mom, and my dad are all projectors. My husband is a projector, and then my brother is a reflector. So it's very interesting that we're all non-energy types, but like two of my best friends are generators. And I feel like I get along with them so well because they like, just being around them just like ignites me up. And I also love being able to like give them advice and guide them. And that brings me so much joy. So back to reflectors. Reflectors are completely open. So they are feeling all the feels. They are super sensitive, super empathic, super in tune with their surroundings, so much so that they can be picking up on everyone else and not really know what is theirs. So it's very important for reflectors to give themselves time and space. So their strategy is to wait a full moon cycle. So let's say they have a decision to make, like, okay, should I move to California or move to New York? Instead of just like instantly deciding or giving themselves a week or 2 weeks, they should wait an entire moon cycle, a 28-day cycle. And if they can wait this 28 days, they can ride out the waves of how they are feeling at different times of the month, because they're extremely empathic. They're extremely lunar. So they're going to feel differently during the full moon, new moon, waxing, waning, etc. So it's important for reflectors to give themselves a full month essentially before making any important decisions, because they're going to feel differently at different times. So their energy is very sampling. So they like to try things. They like to dabble things. They like to be friends with many different people, but they really need to be on their own to recharge and recuperate. And this is because you're reflecting everyone around you. So if you're around people who are all really ambitious, you might be like, I'm super ambitious. Then when you're by yourself, you're like, oh. Or if you're around people who are very like artsy, you might be like, oh, I'm very artsy. And then when you're by yourself, you're like, pooh, you could finally let that go. So they're like chameleons. They're like transforming around anyone that they are with. So it's really important for reflectors to take that time to be by themselves and let go of all of the energy that they are holding on to, so they can remember who they are, because their energy really is sampling. They're always holding on to bits and pieces of other people. So I really think about Kirby. If you ever played Super Smash Bros., do you remember Kirby, the pink character? Well, what Kirby would do is she or he would like kind of suck people up and then take on their essence, like their superpowers for, I don't know, like a couple minutes, and then she'd go back to being herself. So, I mean, I loved being Kirby because I could eat a Yoshi and then I could do the egg thing, or then I could have like Pikachu and do the lightning strikes. But that was a very reflector energy if you think about that. And it's funny, like my references, but Kirby was very reflector. Like everyone that Kirby was around, she would pick up on their energy. And it's like, but what is Kirby's superpower? Like what Kirby's superpower is to reflect. And that's really what makes Kirby so unique. And that's why I loved being Kirby. So when reflectors don't feel like themselves, they feel disappointed. So they feel like, you know, like I'm just really let down. I feel like I'm around people all the time and I'm just getting so overwhelmed. I need time to myself, and this level of just sadness and disappointment. So while manifestors get more angry, reflectors get more disappointed. But when reflectors do feel really good, they feel surprised. Like, I had a beautiful conversation with someone, or wow, I tried that new thing and it was really cool. Or, oh, I came up with this idea and it was really interesting. And they're feeling very surprised. Like it's a very lighthearted energy. But then when it's not like themselves, it's a very heavy energy. So it's important for reflectors to be in their own spaces, because they really are here to uplift, and they really are here to essentially observe us all. Like it's that energy of being on the outskirts, like being that referee or someone on the sidelines, and like we're all here, like the generators are like, you know, in the soccer game playing, and then the projector is like, you know, the coach or like that person on the team that's like, come on guys, we can come together, and like giving the motivational speech. And then that manifestor is like, okay, here's the play. You're going to go left, we're going to go right, and like giving the guidelines. And then the reflector is just like watching it all happen. So that's why they need that space to watch, to gauge, you know. So if a manifestor's superpower is to lead, and a projector's is to guide, and a generator's is to work and build, reflectors are to gauge. So they need that time to evaluate. And when they have that time to evaluate and see things from an outside perspective, they can really hold that space. So they really are here to like essentially kind of hold the vibration for us all. And I see this as a very Kapha, but also a bit of Vata energy. So it's that Kapha, which is sensitive and empathic and feeling things for other people. And Kapha also has water, you know, it's earth and water, 2/3 earth, 1/3 water. So reflector is a very watery energy, but also an airy energy. It's very, you know, like mystical, and again, seeing things from that outside perspective, and not so much here to like guide and be like, okay, like, here's what we're going to do. Here's the mission. It's more here to just like reflect from an outside perspective. So for example, my friend Jordan Younger, the Balanced Blonde, is a reflector, and she has taken so much time for herself the past 2 years to really step away from work and step away from the doing because it made her actually become sick. So that's her now stepping into her reflector self and having more time to just like write poetry and reflect and be and journal. And that is helping her heal so much. So I see this as a Kapha energy because it's very restorative and grounding and nurturing, but I also see it as that Vata energy because it has that airiness and lightness to it. Now, I am sure, like how I did, when you're hearing about these human designs, you're thinking, oh, well, I want to be a different one than what I am. So maybe you do the assessment online, mybodygraph.com, or if you just Google human design chart, you'll find many charts out there. And what I often see happen is people who are generators feeling like, oh, I am not important because if 70% of the population is a generator, then like I'm just like everyone else. And that is so not true. And generators do come up with a lot of ideas and they can execute on them. So for example, I will name 3 generators who are very much shifting the vibration of this entire planet. They are Oprah, Tony Robbins, and Deepak Chopra. They are all 3 generators. I believe Oprah might be a manifesting generator, but they're all generators. So these people like Tony Robbins, huge vision, huge visionary, huge potential to see other things. Like one would assume he is a manifester, but he's actually the generator. So that's why he is able to literally speak for hours on end. And now he's like in his 60s, maybe 70s. I'm not even sure how old he is, but he's still talking. He's still speaking. He's still coming up with courses, he's still creating content. And that's that generator in him. So the manifestor energy would initiate it. It would like come up with the idea and set up the Tony Robbins organization, but the generator is sustaining it. And he is still very involved in his business. Like I heard that at the end of each of his conferences, at the end of the conference, he will until 2 a.m. be talking to everyone on the team, like what went well, what did, and they've done this conference hundreds or maybe thousands of times. And that generator in him is still like, I want to make sure we're doing the best job possible. So this is his generating energy that has allowed him to create such a massive vision. That's only because of his generating ability. And Oprah as well. How many years did she have the TV show Oprah Winfrey Show? Maybe over a decade, I think. So she was able to show up each and every day, do her hair, do her makeup, be there super early in the morning, probably performing, doing multiple episodes in a day, then traveling, speaking engagement, brand deals, all of the stuff for so long and still doing things because of that generating energy allows her to keep showing up and keep doing it and keep building that. She was able to build this entire huge global brand. Deepak Chopra as well. He is 75 years old now. He is traveling every day, speaking in a new place, conferences, 4-hour-long workshops. It's not just the idea that he had, it's that energy that he's doing. So that's why when people say, oh, I don't want to be a generator, that's not special. It's like, hello, any human design can create whatever they want, and they each have their own unique ways of doing it. So the projector. So a lot of my friends happen to be projectors too. So I'm a projector. Danielle Page, who's been on this podcast, is a projector. Miki Agrawal, who's been on this podcast, is a projector. Jay Shetty, Shaman Durek, Lacey Phillips, Krista Williams from Almost 30. Like I see a lot of people in my industry are projectors, and it makes a lot of sense because we really are here to guide and we're more of teachers. Like I don't love running a business like that. I do it because I have to create, essentially income to sustain and live, and then also build and share my message. So I kind of have to put on the role of the business person, and I do have fun doing it, but it's not like, oh, it's my dharma. Like I want to start businesses for other people. Like I just love starting businesses. Like I don't feel like Gary Vee, and this is because the projector is here really to guide. Like I would much rather be a business coach and guide other people in starting their businesses instead of like the CEO and like actually doing all of the day-to-day of like managing and building other people's businesses. That's because the projector energy is here to see. Like I see things very, very clearly. When someone has an issue, I'm like, this is the solution. And I can see from that unique point of clarity. But because of the conditioning in society, it makes me want to go and do it all. So then I'll easily be like, well, I can figure this out, and I just go do it. And this has served me in a lot of ways because I've built my own website and did SEO and like everything that it take my brand off the ground. But at the same time, it really caused me to, have adrenal fatigue and overwork myself, et cetera, because I was not fully operating as that projector. I was operating like a generator / manifester, which is not what my human design is. And then I see even manifestors being like, I don't feel like a manifester. Like, I don't feel like I repel people. I feel like I like kind of more of am a chameleon and fit in. But own the fact that you're a manifester. Like, that's amazing that you're able to really create whatever it is that you want, and you have that strong sense of empowerment and ability. So what if you really own that? Like, a good friend of mine is a manifester, and she's trying to figure out her business, et cetera. I'm like, girl, you're a manifester. Like, you just choose what you want to do and it's going to happen. And she's like, yeah, I know, you're right. So it's so important for us to see that our human designs are our gifts, and they are our soul chosen vehicles that we are residing on this planet in. And each of us makes us unique. Like, even a reflector, my brother's a reflector, and I'm like, he was always crying at all the weddings and I would make fun of him. But it's like, now I'm like, your sensitivity is your superpower. I love how much you feel. Like, it's so beautiful. He's so caring. And that's that reflector energy. So I would love to know what your human design is. I just opened up an entire human design topic in Rose Gold Goddesses. Rose Gold Goddesses is your Sacred Sisterhood collective. It is our very own app with monthly Goddess Circle calls hosted by me, bi-weekly experts, webinars, workshops, topics where you can discuss things like human design, your doshas, everything else with 2,000 other spiritual sisters, and we're growing. We have live events that we've done all across the country and now all across the world. And we are so excited to have you in part of our community. So you can learn more about Rose Gold Goddesses by heading over to rosegoldgoddesses.com. That is goddesses, plural, and you can join the waiting list. So when we open doors again, we can notify you first. So I'd love to know what your human design is, if this is resonating with you. And if you want me to do any more human design related podcasts, I love talking about this stuff and would love to hear from you guys. If you loved this episode, I would love if you could leave me a review in the iTunes store. And as a free gift, I will share with you the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type. Simply email a screenshot of your review over to Sahara@eatfeelfresh.com. Again, Sahara, Sahara, at eatfeelfresh.com, and I will send you over the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type. Thank you and namaste.